Nice to be in orbit.
Semiconductors. It's about a $300 billion a year industry. That's about 2/3 the size of Walmart. Who cares? I mean, really, Walmart is $450 billion. So who cares about semiconductors? Why do we care? Why does it get so much? There are way more analysts on all the semiconductor companies than there are on Walmart. So what does it matter? And the reason is it has this immense multiplier effect that a system or the total system value, take a cell phone. The cell phone might be 20 or 30% semiconductor content. There's a lot of software, there's batteries, there's all sorts of stuff in there. And then that gets sold and you pay $50 a month because of those semiconductors, and then the cell phone company and all the people that open table to get reservations, the spin-off value of the semiconductors in the cell phone are anywhere from 10 to 100 times the semiconductor content. That takes that $200, $300 billion a year industry and turns it into a trillion up to $10 trillion industry. What good is the Joint Strike Fighter without electronics in it? You wouldn't build it. Automobiles now have way more electronics in them than they do steel, rubber, everything else combined. It's a rolling electronic platform. So it's the leverage value of semiconductors, which means you have to look at all these factors when you're thinking about semiconductors. And so inherently, anything, getting back to that information has value when it's in motion. What puts it in motion? Semiconductors. So that's where it derives its value, even if the inherent value of the pure chip is not as big as you think. Closest industry I can find for the semiconductor industry is the oil industry. It's mature. The oil industry has been through about 5 or 10 generations of life. The semiconductors industry has actually been through about 20. Their generations are shorter, but fracking with directional drilling and thermal and sonar mapping, that's maybe the 5th or 10th great idea of the oil industry. We change every 18 months. We completely rewrite the rules every 18 months or 3 years with a new fab. The big elephant fields, the 5, 10, 20 billion barrel fields, they're all discovered. They're called microprocessors. They're called Qualcomm. They're called DRAMs. They're there. But the wildcatters are actually interesting. What is shaking up world energy markets more than anything else? Fracking. It's completely changed the world dynamics. It's knocking Russia out of its dominance of European gas. It's changing everything, and the man who basically put fracking in business just died, and he got his obituary into the Economist magazine, which tells you he was a big name in the world. So it's the new ideas, it's the wildcatters, and they're called wildcatters in the oil business, they're called startups in the electronics business. So if you want to know what's going to happen, watching the big guys, the Exxons, who are figuring out how to plug a 1-ounce drip in every mile of pipe, which turns out to be 10,000 barrels a day. It's a big number. I'm glad they're fixing the pipes. It's not going to change the world. Fracking is going to change the world. And usually what looks like a niche opportunity ends up being a big deal. And that's the beauty of startups. Big companies can't afford to go into niche opportunities. If you're already doing 10 billion a year and you see a new opportunity for 10 million, who cares? Our costs of goods, if our prices are going down 1%, we're doing 10 billion a year, we're going to lose 10 or $100 million a year just in cost erosion, price erosion. I can't, 10 billion, I'm going to invest 2 years of R&D for a new thing for 10 million, doesn't move the needle. The needle's too fat. So that's why startups inevitably are the mammals and the big guys are the dinosaurs. Exxon didn't bring us fracking. Chevron didn't bring us fracking. Some unknown oil company up in North Dakota brought us fracking, and it's literally changing the world, may make the US energy independent again. Who'd ever thought that in our lifetime, forever, we'd ever see that again?